It's easy to make an assumption that growing up poor offers little benefit to anyone's life. Growing up poor can be incredibly challenging and take its toll on all aspects of your life. But it's not all bad news. Because as someone who has grown up poor, I would like to share 7 benefits that can help you turn a commonly perceived disadvantage into your own superpower. Now, growing up poor obviously wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, my friends. And if you've ever experienced growing up in a poor family, you may resonate with a few of these things, such as the element of shame that's associated with it, be that with the brands that you have to wear or the places that you need to shop. Then there's the endless amount of things that you can only wish that you could afford to have, rather than actually being able to go out and buy them. And then finally, of course, there's a limitation in terms of the opportunities and experiences you can actually take advantage of. And although I know this, looking back on my life where money was pretty much non-existent, I wouldn't change a single thing 36 years on. Because what the lack of money has taught me growing up poor is 7 fundamental lessons that I would like to share with you all today that I truly believe will help you. The first is ambition. Now, if you look at some of the most successful people in history, there's a common trend you'll notice in high achievers, and that is that they're highly ambitious. In fact, there have actually been studies done on this in the past, derailing myths about poor people lacking ambition. And I believe one of the main reasons for wanting more, striving to get more, and just having more ambition when you grow up poor is because, well, you know what it's like to not have it all. And when I look back, even in my life, I remember the burden my family was under, trying to send me to grammar school. I remember the cost of tutors, meaning my mother had to work extra shifts. Of course, private schools at that time charged, so they couldn't afford to send me there, so I literally had to get in on merit in others. And this actually lit an extra fire in my belly. Now, of course, there's outliers with anything, but I truly believe the level of grit and determination from growing up poor, if used right, can be powerful as hell. The second, resilience. Now, growing up poor is all about developing resilience and coping skills that actually help you later on in life. Now, whether it's a change in circumstances, moving around, surviving in poorer conditions, these all have the possibility of building resilience. Now, I've openly shared some of my siblings have come from the foster care system and their childhood sadly wasn't great, but they are about the most resilient children I've ever seen and known. And I'm confident that being resilient will help them later in life. The third, gratitude. When you grow up with nothing, you simply have a greater appreciation for the smaller things in life. In fact, most things. Because when you grow up with so little, in terms of quantity and choice, you're just simply appreciative of it all and forever grateful. Or at least I am. And even now, when I think back to earning my first few quid working, the value of the pound still sticks with me today. And it's also why I don't go out and buy bougie, fancy, materialistic things, and always remember how hard it was earning that first few quid. I also remember how hard and how many hours my parents had to work just to save a few pounds growing up. And I truly believe a life of gratitude, or just the practice of it, can only be an advantageous one in one's journey. Empathy. So I'm an empath by nature. I'm that guy that feels a lot of shit all the time. And yes, this likely isn't because we had no money growing up, but generally speaking, when you experience hardships growing up, it can help you foster empathy and compassion for others who are struggling. And this is why I literally share everything for free on this channel, my friends, because deep down, I want someone who started in my position, or even worse, to know there's a way out. If I can do it, I want you to know that you can do it too. I don't need nothing from you. I just need you to know there's a blueprint out there and an example showing you that it's possible. Resourcefulness. Now, I love this one. You've probably heard Tony Robbins talk about this one too.
When you look at the most powerful and effective people in history, they didn't have the resources, but they got them. How do people get resources when they don't have them? The answer is they're resourceful. The ultimate resource is resourcefulness. That's what makes someone successful. And here's what's great about resourcefulness. Who has it within them? Who? Every human being, but the question is whether you access it or not.
And it's true, people who grow up poor often learn to be more resourceful and creative in finding ways to either make their ends meet or simply get stuff done. When we started Health Excel, or when I've started other ventures in the past, I just didn't have a lot of money to throw down. And although you could argue with more capital, things could have moved potentially quicker, I was able to learn so many more skills and get good at doing so many things myself that I was able to make it work with less. And I think resourcefulness is such a powerful skill to have in all areas of your life, be it personal or in your career. No fear. Now, the way I see it is, if you start with nothing and you're used to it, what's the worst that could happen, right? So what if you go back down to zero? When you come from being poor, you're probably used to surviving on very little. And it's actually quite refreshing, if I'm being honest, to have that perspective sometimes, especially as a lot of great ventures do require some level of risk. Now, of course, as an investor, I still recommend you do your due diligence and get your numbers and all that stuff right. And don't be reckless for the sake of being reckless. Humility. Now, I genuinely know what it's like to be in a family struggling with debt and not knowing how to put meals on the table. And that's why sometimes I genuinely try and urge you all to take in what I share on these videos, on some of the property videos, because there's people out there charging thousands for this information. And I'm 100% confident that if you follow through with the things that I've mentioned, you can do very well, even if you don't have much to start with. I started with very little myself. And finally, with that, I'll leave you with some quality words from Alex Hormozi.
If you suffered from racial inequality, if you suffered from gender inequality, if you suffered from being born in Bangladesh, if you were sexually abused your entire life, you would be completely justified in the fact that you are not achieving the things that other people who didn't have those disadvantages have achieved. And I say this as a white guy who was born in America to a doctor father. I understand that. But at the same degree, you have the opportunity that you can be an inspiration to people who just went through the same thing and succeeded despite those circumstances. Because I can promise that there is somebody who has had it worse and has done it better.